everyone. Today is just me, Malin, but no worry, you will not just listen to me today. I have the honor to present an interview what me and Rikard had 2 weeks ago at the Coaches Congress in Stockholm. So for anyone who doesn't know what the Coaches Congress is, it is for those who want to develop as a business owner, but also as a coach. It was in Stockholm at Per Mattsson's CrossFit box at CrossFit 162. He is also the director of this congress. And you will also hear an interview with him, but that would probably be the last interview that we will give to you. And for me, as a kind of new business owner, I learned a lot this weekend. It was very, very interesting. I also had one of my coaches with me. She was at the coaches track the whole weekend, and I were on the gym owner track. There were very many interesting speakers, and as I said, Rikan and I have the honor to interview some of these people. The first interview today will be with a Swedish guy. His name is Erik Blomberg, and he is the former CEO from Eleiko. I have to say, Erik is a very, very nice, humble person. He had the first speak this weekend, or one of the first speeches this weekend, and the topic he had was leadership with kindness. And I think that is a very, very important topic for many business owners to listen to. And I took a lot with me home after this topic, or I will have been thinking about it a lot. Also, as a Swedish person, Swedish girl, I'm very, very interested all about the Eleiko and about the business. And as I started with my CrossFit career for like 2013, Eleiko was always for me one of the top equipments out there. So I thought it was very interesting to meet Erik this weekend and also have an interview with him. So I will not say much more than that. I will give it over to Rikard, me and Erik in Stockholm 2 weeks ago at the Coaches Congress. Have fun.
We're at the Coaches Congress, and we are having this small interview studio over here. My name is Richard Malin, and today's or this episode's guest is Erik Blomberg.
That's right.
Who is the former CEO of Eleiko, Sweden. Most people in this industry should know all about Eleiko by this
I hope so.
But
that's probably not the case.
But for those who don't, Erik, you are the son of, let's say, the former ownership of the company. So, and it's a family company.
Yeah.
But what is your like brief 30-second pitch of like the story of the company?
Yeah, I mean, we're a family-owned company, so we really have a history as the leader in professional weightlifting and powerlifting. So we've been making, designing and manufacturing weightlifting equipment since 1957. And we always say that, well, actually the company goes back further than that. So it's in 1927 the company was founded. Then making electrical appliances. So we say it started with a waffle iron. That was the first core product we did. But then in the 50s there was a weightlifter working in the factory, and he wanted to make a bar that could last one full competition. And that was approved and that was done. And since then we've delivered to most of the world championships and biggest international competitions, Olympic Games, in weightlifting and then also in powerlifting.
Yeah, and you took over the company 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
you said, as the CEO, but obviously, but your entire family is still involved in the business.
Yeah,
So.
Exactly. Yeah, we're definitely a family company. We're owned by the family. My two brothers are also in the company. So my older brother is running the US business that we have, and my younger brother is running he's in Spain running our tech team. So we have a team there developing systems and running the e-com that we have. My sister's husband is responsible for France. They just came back. They started up that company there. My mother is on the board. My uncle is, he helps out wherever he can. So there's a lot of family in the company, but it works. It works well. Yeah.
That's so nice.
And today you had a speech here. You had the first speech really after the introduction, but the first speaker at the Coaches Congress now 2022, and you picked a interesting topic, which is leading by kindness, and I thought, that would be a great start for us to dig into, because like me, because I talk with some owners out there that are not from Sweden.
Yeah.
And for me, as a Swedish business owner and so on, I can totally see that. I've been working at Swedish companies before, and I've seen this. There is a genuine, usually a genuine kindness when it comes to leadership in Swedish companies, right? We have a lot of high trust within Swedish companies, which is also like a sign of us giving people the power to do decisions and faults by themselves and so on.
Yeah.
But for other cultures, that's not always that obvious. It is very easy to have this just a slogan, like you have, what's the value of the company? It's integrity, and then people put it on the wall, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But in a practical meaning, how have you applied that in situation at the company? Have you had situations with your managers or?
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and I meet that a lot as well when I talk about the company and I present what we stand for. I meet in different cultures in different countries. It's some are very surprised to hear that type of dimension is even part of a company presentation. Or and it was also a little bit. I mean, I chose this topic for today because it was also a little bit of a challenge to myself as well. That how can I talk about this in a way that it's not coming across as sort of I mentioned in the talk that it could be that you sort of think a little bit self-righteously about this type of thing, that you're intending to be kind in your actions and in how you run the company, and it's also something that you, of course, people can see that we're trying to promote something. But this is quite personal to me as well, because it goes back a lot to how my father ran the business. So his leadership style and the way he was as a person was really about this. So in a way, what I've done is more trying to nurture and almost mine what he built in the company, and then nurture it and hopefully develop it and keep it alive. So we talk a lot about it, but we also try to reflect a lot on it as well. I think it definitely comes into play when we recruit. That's sort of the most critical point where we can really put to test what we are looking for. And we quite often have discussions in the recruitment team whether this is a person that actually would contribute or not to this part in the company. So I would say the recruitment process definitely, and then also when we see that we have people in the company that challenge this, then we are very fast also at either it's not always about just separating, but it could be bringing this up for an honest and straightforward conversation. Why we don't see more of this? So it's just an important topic for us in the company.
I'm thinking, to be kind to someone, you have to know your values, right? Because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to just get stepped on, right? Because and I think that is also something that where you feel like when you start to feel resentment, right, is when you got stepped on, and your values. And so how can we be kind? But I know you quoted Jordan Peterson there a bit, because I know he speaks a bit about this, but it's like you need to know what is important to you, so you can say no to stuff. But that also makes you kind, because you're not self-sacrificing yourself.
No, I agree, and I think you're right. I think if you let yourself be stepped upon, I think the next time you will be a little bit less kind or accommodating towards someone. So that's, and I don't think it has to be like that. I think Jordan Peterson actually has some really good points there as well. I mean, it's being kind is not about not standing up for something. I mean, to be clear in your opinions and is a good thing.
It's not kind to be vague.
No, exactly. So clarity is actually one, I think, tool for preventing what you just said could be a risk. And if we then take Jordan Peterson, in my speech I was referring to a quote where he was a bit more using kindness as a displaying the negative part of it. But one of his advices in his book, what is it, 12 Rules for is to be precise in your speech. And that is something I think which be precise in your speech and stand up for, and be clear with this is my opinion, this is what I stand for. Now you are not respecting that, and that is not about being unkind in any way. So I think clarity in that sense is one of the tools.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So then it requires you to have this kind of. You have to be brave also then to be kind, right?
Yeah.
Because you have your values, and this is funny because actually I think it was yesterday or this morning, Chris Cooper from Two Brain actually he wrote in our in our private group, but he because he had had this epiphany between kindness and being nice. And the distinction between them is that being nice is had an example. Being nice is to be with a person, for example, who has like a lettuce between his teeth, and you're not saying anything because you don't want to be.
That's a good comparison. I like that.
But making anything awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
But being kind is to actually say it. You have something there, and it's from the pure, like you just want the best for that person. That's the reason, right? But you had a good example there, like because you talked about a bit of this, like I guess resentment, like you do a deal, and you get this like bad taint in your mouth. So and it sounds to me very clearly like, okay, the more I know my values, the easier it's going to be for me maybe to be kind, but also to actually be kind to say no. Right. But and I think what makes me very curious, because you work in a so much bigger business than I am working at, is how many situations you actually have of this. You have this on a management level, I guess. But also with a broader level, you know, you have your external clients and so on. Which level do you think is the hardest for you to keep yourself kind, if it's within your family or within
that's a good question. Yeah,
I was thinking about that. Yeah,
for staff or to external clients?
No, but I think you actually touch on something. I think it's, you know, the distance from being in a stable, you know, giving kind state to actually being, you know, quite not in the same space basically. I mean, it's very much shorter within the family. It can go from very, you know, very friendly conversation to then something just, you know, if I say something to my brother or he says something back and it hits an emotional trigger in any of us, and those emotional triggers within the family, we all, I mean, I know his triggers, he knows mine, and we can very quickly escalate things. So the family is probably one of the hardest you know, environments to stay like that. External clients, you know, a stranger, it's very, you know, it takes a lot of, you have a lot of, I think you have a lot of distance to go through to get to that point very quickly.
Oh, it's frozen? No, it's working.
Okay.
But
it's
just the screen.
So that I think that's interesting. But then of course if you have where I struggle sometimes with my own emotions there, I think is when and that's one of the things I have probably the most difficult to handle. That is when I have people in the company who are indifferent. That's a hard one for me. I think about it a lot, but when I feel that people are not engaged or actually don't care so much, that's just a response I've had problems dealing with, really. It's even better to find a response which is a bit more negative, because then you can work with that. But the indifference is a tough one. So that actually triggers me a little bit in that sense. But I mean, going back to kindness, I think I also talked a little bit in the speech today about. I mean, true kindness is really about giving something and not expecting anything back. And I think that's really the core of it. So it should not be that you are expecting to get something from an action or from saying something or a compliment or whatever it can be. And I gave this example in the session today that I met this writer. He's an author, and he gave this. You know, we had this discussion about elderly people in a village, and he asked me what I would really say is what, you know, what's defining for someone who is considered to be the elder that you go to for advice. And you have this old traditional view of a village where you have these people that people go to for advice and for counsel. And I couldn't really give a good answer, but his view was that it was two things. One was that they were they had realized that they are going to die, and I think many have probably come to that conclusion themselves. But then the next point was that they've also accepted it, and then he had studied this, and he was quite an interesting person to talk to, and then he said that if you have those two things, then you the result is that you become very generous. So you give of your experiences, from your mistakes, and you from what you have, in a way where you don't expect anything back. And I thought that was quite profound, actually, and I've just brought it with me, and I think it's something that could be. I think it's true, and I can see that that's where the best advice usually comes from, where there's no expectation of anything else back.
I think sorry.
I think that is also very important, or that was one thing that I thought about when you said it, that be kind and give something and not have the expectation that you will get something back. Because that is I think that is a big problem with many people have, that they are kind and but they still expect something, that they will have something for it.
Yeah.
And I think that is something what I would take with me, definitely, for today. That and you also said that is not kindness.
No, it's not because then it's a calculated thing, and it's like it's not really that genuine anymore.
But in the same way, when we turn them around, sometimes I notice from people when they are kind to me, then I also feel or I notice that they are expecting something from me that I have to give back. So that is like another way, and then I have the feeling I have to give something because they gave me something. That is also very, very interesting.
Reciprocity, right? But it really touches on one of the topics really that Chris Cooper wrote an entire book called Help First. And one thing that this is not an idea from Two Brain, right? But it's just like formulated in one sense for gym owners, is that because everyone is scared of sales, for example. But what you're actually doing is you try to help people, and if you get that into your mindset, you're not required to have a sale, right? You can help someone without him necessarily having to be a client for you. And we try to do this, I try to educate my staff with this, is that you're passionate about gymnastics or you're passionate about weightlifting, then you should just give to your, to the members. All this knowledge for free. And you touched on Gary Vee today. It's like he's a lot about this, give just 1,000 reps of just putting it out there, how to do everything, his entire, let's say, way of doing marketing, he has put out there. This is how you do content marketing, and I think, and it's not calculated in that sense that if you help someone, it's gonna bring something back. It might, but it might not. And the crazy thing is that when you stop caring about what was the final result of that conversation, then it's actually when it starts to happen. And these conversations that I've seen and heard, I helped hundreds of people with whatever pains and stuff they had, and I sent them videos of do this. I didn't say you have to pay me $100 and I'll send you that video. And they're super happy, high five, and that's it. And I'm just happy that it worked. And then some people come back 5 years later and they say, that really helped me, and I have this friend who needs your help. And that happens. And I guess one sense at the same time, how to balance that, the giving from your time, because in one sense right now, Erik, you are giving your valuable time. I don't want to even calculate what your effective hourly rate is for your company.
No, but I think but it's also important to be. When I talk about kindness, I talk about it definitely as a value, but it shouldn't be really equated with giving or giving things for free. You still have to be able to make a living, to run a business on commercial on commercial grounds. It shouldn't really interfere with that at all. And when you say that people are afraid of doing sales, that's a bit of a spooky and scary area to actually sell your time or what you have to offer. I don't think it should really interfere with that either. I think it's more how you do it, and that you have integrity, that you are honest, and that you don't try to cheat anyone, or also just the manner in which you do it. That I think matters, but I don't think it should really have to go into interfering with that, because if that's the case, then we have just a natural strong resistance against it in a way.
Mm.
And I think the benefits will come. I think they will come in business and that as well. But they will come on other, even there, they will come on other levels and other dimensions. It is that you will be respected back, and that you will give, you will get a favor here and there. You will be spoken of in a nice way, and so, I mean, it will all come back in one way. But I don't think it should be really looked upon like that. If you see what I mean.
You were touching a bit on that, like in your speech about, well, at the end it comes down to what will people say about you when you're gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that just resonated so strong with me, because one of my favorite books out there that kind of shifted a lot of my mindset was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought was like when I got the book, I was thinking, okay, here we have some tricks and stuff, whatever, so I get more effective with my time management.
Yeah.
But when it really comes down to is, the values, and in that book, it is really one of the exercises. One of the values is like begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
Have you read that book?
Yeah,
too,
we actually have that book. We have our internal development program, and that's one of the books we ask our managers to read.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we like that also.
And
I think,
it's exactly what I do too.
It is good, and I agree. I think you should have the end in mind, and you also have the win-win mindset, which sounds a little bit cliche today. But you have to have it, because if you have, the opposite is not an option really. No. To have something, to have an approach to doing business or interacting with people where you actually have one person lose. And there are a lot of people out there who, even like business sectors and all that, where the win-lose mindset is quite prevalent.
Yeah, I spontaneously I think about like mobile phone carriages and everything. That has always been like a bit of that. You get a deal, and then suddenly there's some kind of hidden costs, and you're kind of locked into a contract. You have nobody to talk to, and all that stuff. But that also kind of it kind of also attaches to another topic that is actually with Jordan Peterson, but now I'm kind of blanking on it. But it is this. You have the dictator, or there's a better word for it, but you have basically the one who the bully,
the tyrant, or
the tyrant. The tyrant can come so far by suppressing people and fooling people and try to demonstrate power, right? But there, if you look into the animal kingdom, the biggest winners are, and like if you look into apes, for example, the apes that live the longest are the ones that create the strongest networks and connections, right? And you have this reciprocity back and forth of trust basically, and help. So, but you also have the tyrant apes, and that come to the throne, and they usually end up then getting, overthrown by people that are then, talking behind the back. Basically.
And I mean, there was also something that I tried to reflect on a bit, and you talked about the legacy as well. And really having the end in mind, and what is, I brought up, for example, this Good to Great book by Jim Collins, where he talks about a certain type of leadership, which is he calls it level 5 leadership, and you can be very capable as an individual. You can be a competent manager. You can organize a team. You can even set out the vision and create that plan and strategy for that. But then the next real level, or the highest level you need to reach, is that you are able also make it not about yourself as a leader and about the organization or the cause that you are working for. And it really gets shown in the end, because if that person can leave the business or the organization, and the organization is capable of continuing their good progress, that's the real sort of evidence that you've done something well. And for that, you often need to have a different type of person. You need to have more humble person, and not a person which is really working to elevate one's own status or name. And then I think the other side of that is when we looked a little bit at who do we admire out in the world as a leader. And if we look at the very top level of leadership in the world, that's probably where I struggle the most, because I see, especially if we look in political layers, you see that to get to those very top positions, you often have to be quite tough, and you almost you need to use some elbows, and politics is a pretty dirty game. And you can see, you can point to leaders out there that you feel that these are not really the kindest people. At least you don't know them by person, but and then you sort of wonder. But even there, politics is very short term as well. In our world. So who actually gets remembered as the great ones?
I'm thinking and this is where the shift kind of happens, and I think. Stephen Covey actually writes a bit about this in the book of The 7 Habits. It's like that. The shift went from character-based qualities of people into this kind of what's it called? Skill-based and quality of people. So basically, that you can get this kind of sales trick, for example, to become a better salesman, or instead of that, having this kind of resonating character inside you. And you can look at, I'm by no means an excellent quoter or biographer of Churchill or so, but somewhere I feel like he left definitely a legacy, and he was not the perfect mensch on the world in the world, but he had a profound character that came across in the worst crisis of human history almost. And that kind of I'm just self-reflecting or thinking now loudly, is that he was not the perfect one. He was alcoholic, he was smoking all the time, he was probably rude against 100,000 people at the same time, but he had some values that he was deeply cherishing, and that was kind of free speech and democracy and stuff like that. And he wouldn't back down an inch from it. So and that's kind of where you when I think about leaders we look up to today, what leaders do we have there on the top level that are so character based or value driven that they would actually be the only one I can think of is really Elon Musk at the moment, that is on that top tier level, because he was always strange before he became a billionaire. He always said what he wanted to say before he was a billionaire. Some people think that it's going to be easy when I reach a certain power point, then I can be truthful. But he was always that. And that's why now with the Twitter and everything, he's just he doesn't care if it would ruin.
No, I think it's interesting to follow him a lot. I also think he's acting like a free man, a free person. I don't see any clear sort of calculated actions.
It's almost scary.
But then you it's this Bob Dylan song. I think it's everyone has to serve somebody. and you kind of always looking for who is this person serving.
Yeah.
Really. And if you're in any business, you have your constituents and you have your stakeholders, and you try to sort of, and you know, you often have to sort of adapt a little bit yourself and your own opinions. And now we live in a world where I think in a time where it's very much also controlled. You know, how what views and opinions are sort of more accepted and not accepted. And it's a tricky time to be very free.
Yeah.
In your opinion,
because everything is so transparent now.
Yeah, and it
goes viral.
And there's also a little, but this is there's also quite a lot of group mentality as well in how quickly things are opinions are shaped and then viewed as either this is the right way to look at it, and this is the not accepted way to look at it. And it feels as if it's strengthening that force, but that's maybe just my subjective opinion. But it's interesting to see people like now Elon Musk take a very. I mean, he could probably reason if he just looked at Tesla and reason that he should maybe not say things or do that because that would upset this country or this leader, and then he could be in regulatory, difficulties here and there, but he doesn't seem to be that much, caring about that. But I don't know. It's a bit refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is not meant to be a political podcast, but it is interesting. You can see where the values mattered for him. It is when, for example, when COVID became a hit, basically every business owner felt like they couldn't really say what they wanted to say. Yeah. At least in many industries, they were like, if I say anything negative, that's bad for the brand. Because then the social narrative was just, you have to agree with the narrative, right? And
that's one example.
And Elon Musk went out there and said, like, what's up with these PCR tests? They don't seem to work. And he just did this through the pandemic. He was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This rule or this CDC or this whatever. So he was always open with that. And then the thing in Ukraine happens, and he sends out satellites to them because he's more concerned about people being able to express themselves and free speech than the narrative that is going on. So I think that was a good, I guess for me, at least a way to see, is he just following some kind of political wave or what is he trying to do? So, but so sometimes though the history kind of shows that, but I'm not an expert with him either. I'm probably just I'm very surprised and not very informed about what he's up to, and probably he doesn't even know himself what he's up to.
Sometimes it's just maybe just.
But maybe this is one of the final questions to you, but because we touched on that, and it's the legacy and so on. What we ask, like the gym owners in Two Brain, is that we tell people to do the bus test, and that means what would happen if the bus would hit you tomorrow and you wouldn't come to work. And that's kind of a bit close to where you're at, but what would happen, and we don't have to do the bus test with you, but what would happen if we would lock the door here, Erik, and we need to do kumbaya for 2 years in this basement? What would happen with Eleiko then?
That's a good question. I mean, I would really want to think that it would continue to do well. And of course, I hope that I'm making a contribution when I'm running the company. But I think it, I'm really not irreplaceable here in this role. And I think it's more, and also, I'm only one person here, and of course there are other owners, there are other managers, some managers that I would feel perfectly comfortable handing over the company, and do kumbaya here
Yeah.
with you for 2 years. For 2 years. And I would feel really good about that, because we have good people in the company.
Yeah.
And then I think I also, you should always have in your mind that there are people out there who would do an even better job than I'm doing with it. And maybe maybe they can come forward in that scenario. So it's not like I'm unimportant, but it's really not that I'm that important either. And I'm definitely not irreplaceable. And just my opinion is that the company is set up in a way where that would continue to thrive. But it's an interesting exercise to think about.
Yeah, and like obviously, I mean I do this often, but I also I think I don't know if it's in the Good to Great book or if I'm confusing these books, but it's like I guess like a good leader should always try to replace himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And like what's the next?
But it's a tricky one, because I have people in the company that I'm so grateful for and what they do. So I would be really sad if they left. So and I would do a lot to keep them. But
I hope they listen, so they.
Yeah, exactly. but on the other hand, I also know by experience that when we've had people in the company either leaving by themselves or having to leave for some other reason, if the company is strong, the structure is there, the culture is there, it's just sort of it's like an organism. You just sort of you fill that gap. Either someone else gets attracted, it opens up, and someone even better can come in. Someone internally takes a step up. So it's really, but that doesn't make these people that I really appreciate now unimportant either. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah. No, I think I mean 2 things I really thought about when in your speech today was is this like unquestionable values, like that we need to keep the same values when you start, like or we have to start there when it comes to, like, we can't have diversity in our value. Is like, for example, at the gym, like, no, we need to be on time. Like there's you can't be in your own space there. Time is not so important or whatever. So I think that was one of the foundations, I thought, and I think that it's true for anything. If it's a sports team, like, you can't have a sports team where you have, we say football now, and you have 10 players that are like, we want to win the games, and then you have one player who says, I'm actually totally fine with losing.
Exactly. No, but I agree. And I talked about indifference before, so I say, that is something that doesn't really connect with what we want to build and what we have. But if someone is feeling down, if someone is having a tough time, perfectly fine. I mean, then we'll work with that, and we'll coach and we'll help and we'll provide support and we'll, we go from there. But I agree. I think diversity has become sometimes a word that is sort of just.
It's also like one of those.
You can't question it really. But on the foundational level of values, I think that is really something you should question, because otherwise, if that doesn't hold together, then everything sort of just goes away. But then in almost everything else, different backgrounds, different opinions, different ways to sort of approach things and look at things, and introverts, extroverts, loud, quiet. Fast speaker, slow speaker, or whatever, perfect, and languages and cultures and all of that. But it's on the basic level that I think you need to share the same values.
For me, that was like when I opened my gym. That was one of the best experiences I've had. Is that I have, because we're based in central Berlin. Yeah. So my members are from the entire world. Like it's not. We don't like.
I mean, Berlin is such a vibrant city like that. It really has a lot of diversity in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of diversity. But I noticed, like, because I had all these people from all different countries and cultures, but what kind of connected us was like first one of like sports, but it really opened up to like the these kind of basic values of like respecting people and everything that, and that was for me an eye opener. But obviously, not everyone is like that from all these countries. But it's like you definitely notice that there is some kind of true value of human respect and everything that you can find anywhere. And I guess my final question would be, can, like as a business, if we could take down to one, and this is going to be our exercise today, what is our core one value? Like if we would put it to one.
Do you already know it?
Yeah, because I thought about it.
Yeah, that's unfair.
I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was thinking like, should it be on time? Should it be orderly? And then I was like, no, the most important thing, and this, because I've been talking about it so much, is actually trust. And because I think it's a value, or it's a currency, really, that is more valuable than any other currency. So it doesn't matter what happens in the world, what happens with currency or with real estate or anything. What really I think is important is that I can trust someone and people can trust me. And because that, whatever new world might be or new situation, this trust is just going to be the currency that brings you forward.
Yeah. So. No, I think that's good, and I think that's really important, and I can probably build on that. So but this is like one of the buzzwords, almost like the integrity. But I think it goes to trust as well. But just that your sort of your inside is the same as your outside. Yeah. That what you say is true. What you say is something you mean, and that you say something that you stand for. It doesn't mean that you have to say everything. That's inside of you. You can hold. I mean, you don't have to open yourself completely as a book, but at least that you are as true as you can with yourself and what you how you interact with
sometimes
people.
We don't know, right? It's like
exactly.
How about you, Molly?
I probably will also build up on that what you just was saying, or both you were saying. I was thinking also about like respect, but I think it will not be my core value. I think that was very good what you said with like, trust, honest, respect. I think that is like so like the head words or headline. Yeah,
they come all together. But
yeah. So I think that's good. Absolutely.
All right. I hope and trust our audience to make a good dissection of that. Any last questions or thoughts?
No.
Thank you so much
for the conversation. It was interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I look forward to your next speech, but also to see the next levels of scalable growth.
We will continue our work. Work hard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.